Hard work does not scale. Smart work does. The best leaders don't grind harder. They build systems that make grinding unnecessary. What's up, Playmakers? Welcome to the pod today. I got my guy Cole with me, and we're about to dive right in. Welcome to Game Plan Leadership. Our goal is to coach business leaders to team victory by mastering the fundamentals of leadership, transforming teams, and building high-performance habits. I'm Desi Mayner, founder of Mayner Leadership, where we have helped over 1,000 service businesses and their leaders across 50 different industries to build a streamlined, efficient business operation with elite leadership and a united, high-performing team. We are here to set you up to win. Every other week, we're going to drop fresh plays to sharpen your leadership game. If you're ready to stay ahead of the competition and lead your team to your next victory, make sure that you are in the huddle. Join our roster today so you never miss a strategy session. And stay tuned until the end for an actionable game plan that you can start using today to elevate your leadership and take your business to the next level. Let's dive in, Playmakers. All right, so today we are diving into why efficiency beats effort every single time and how small business leaders cannot stop doing everything themselves and start leading like a championship coach. If you're stuck in the weeds of daily operations, wondering why your business is not scaling, this is the episode for you. Let's get right into it. To our first segment, Mr. Cole, the huddle. It is time for the huddle, the segment where we bring you the latest in leadership and in business with a little side of sarcasm and, of course, a sports analogy to go with it. So let's kick this one off. It's a great one. I love it. Small business owners everywhere are realizing that just work harder, teacher quotes around that, by the way, is not a business strategy. It turns out that burnout is not an actual leadership skill, and winging it is also not a sustainable plan. What do you think about that, Cole?
Well, I've done my fair share of just working harder and winging it. And I can tell you that it has never worked out for me. No. The biggest change in my career happened when I stopped just like hoping for the best and actually putting in a plan to improve. That was when I made the biggest changes in my career.
Yeah, and I think that's it's such a parallel between sports and business too. Of like, you can work hard all day long, but you might be working on the wrong thing. You might not be spreading out the stuff that you should be working on enough. You might be working on nutrition. You should be working on strength way more, right? Mm-hmm. And vice versa. And you might be, same thing in business. You know, you might be working on your playbooks, but really you should be working on your communication. So let me give you an example of this. I pulled up Mr. Bill Belichick, now UNC head coach. But let's talk about him and Mr. Tom Brady. So greatest coach of all time, right? At one point was called that, right? Now was looking for a job for a while before now landing in a college. Let's talk about why. So when he had Brady, he focused on what? On defense. Because guess what Brady was? He was the offense. He was the system, right? So, and once Brady left, there wasn't much of a process in place to keep things running smoothly on offense, okay? So what's the leadership lesson here? Is that if your business only works when you're in the trenches every single day, right? You don't have a business. What you have is a job, and you have extra stress. You have extra burnout. You have all of these things. You are officially a fireman, right? Or a firewoman. Look, the best leaders, they build the winning system, not just the winning moment. So let me ask you this. What do you think is the biggest parallel between hard work in business and sports?
Biggest parallel, I think it's the baseline. Yeah. And like it is the baseline for how both need to operate. And I think once you get past that, right, like if you have a good system, it makes it easier to work hard at it, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't have a system, like your work rate like is really confusing. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, like I know what I'm doing. Other times you're lost. And I think having that system in place makes that hard work easier to do because you know where it's going and where it's most important, as opposed to just like putting it and hoping you get a fish on the end of the hook.
Yep. And I'll say this, on the other side of things, I also think that sports might be a little bit simpler to figure out the system. So here's what I mean in example form, right? Let's say I'm an offensive lineman, right? I know a lot of what I need to work hard at, right? I need to be really strong. I need to be really quick, right? I need to be really good in the first 10 yards. I need to know the run schemes and the pass blocking schemes, right? And so, but when I'm a business owner, I might be figuring that out for the first time, right? So, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here to help you. So you got to be thinking, what is it that you need to get better at? What is it that you should be working hard on versus what are you already working hard in? And you're going to hear us talk about that more, but on versus in the business. This today is to try to help you to work more on the business than in the business. All right. That is the end of that segment with the Daily Huddle. But let's transition from the huddle into the coaches Q&A. This is probably my favorite one. It's like the not dumbest question of the week kind of model that we're going for here. So here it is, the coaches Q&A, real question from a real client. And ladies and gentlemen, we can't make this stuff up. How do you stop being the bottleneck in my business? How do I stop being the bottleneck in my business? Because right now, and this was like me probing with this client, my delegation strategy is just doing everything myself and then complaining about it. And I'm like, I may have added the sarcasm of complaining about it, but that's basically what's happening with this client. So let's talk about this. So Cole, in sports, lay this out for me. Like, who could be the bottleneck on a sports team? Or even let's go to your world and say on the pitch, right? Who is the bottleneck? Or how could that be a problem of somebody's the bottleneck of that sports team?
Well, I think every team has one or two players that are bottlenecks at one point, right? I think it can change and is a very fluid thing, right? One day it can be this player, the next day it can be that player. But it definitely can kill a team's confidence and belief in what they're doing when either one player isn't bought in, one player doesn't know their role, one player doesn't know, you know, what they need to do, and that can kill that entire team, right? We played just this past fall, we played against a team, and we had one little hole in how we pressed them. And they killed us for it. They scored 2 goals against us on that press because our guys were all over the place, and we started blaming it on fatigue. It was too hot. Right. We weren't doing it correctly. Guys just started to spiral, and that's because we didn't have the right plan as coaches going into that game. And so one little detail at a very, very high level can be the cost for your team. That can ruin so much. And I think this goes back to before where, like, if you want to be at a very, very high level, you have to prepare really well. You can't wing it. And this right here is really important for your strategies. Like, you can't just wing a strategy or else.
And I think too, like, especially with sports, you know, there's definitely bottlenecks. There's definitely, I'm kind of paralleling that to like the star of the team, right? But the star isn't the star without the supporting roles, right? And I think that's what's key here when it comes to the bottleneck is, one, maybe this client that is asking this question here, maybe they're the bottleneck in a bad way of they're not the star. They're just the one that knows all the things so that they have to get asked all the questions, right? But Jordan isn't Jordan without Pippen and Rodman. All right. That is no doubt 100%. Right. And the same thing in your world, Cole, right? You're not the striker and able to score those goals, without your guys getting you the ball and allowing you to take those risks, right? So I think it's like, if you happen to be all three of those, that's definitely a bottleneck, right?
Sure.
And that's what you don't want in your business. So how do we fix that? Okay. Well, what we need to fix is, it just starts with organization. All right. So we got to have really clear roles of the people in your company. And maybe there's only 2, 3, 7, 10, whatever, but everyone needs to have a really clear role on what it is that they're doing, what responsibilities and the results are they responsible for, what does winning look like in each of them, and then what is it going to take to win in each of them. And I think it's much more obvious in sports. And I'll also pull in the military on this too. Like it's, maybe we're a sniper spotter, or maybe we're the shooter, but it's like, oh, that's much more obvious. But also in sports, I'm the quarterback. Gee, I wonder what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm the striker. I wonder what I'm supposed to do, score goals. But then we get to business, and then we kind of pull in that like assume word. Of like, oh, you're an admin, so you should just kind of know what to do, right? Or you're a middle manager, so you just manage the frontline employees, right? And it's like, that is so unclear. It's insane.
Yeah.
We're talking, it's like we go from military and sports where we're trying to win things, very competitive, which so is business. But it's like, what is it that we're trying to win? And then things just become very, very unclear. So you got to have organization. You got to have clarity. And by organization, I just mean who's doing what, where are they doing it, when are they doing it, why, and how. It's like who, what, when, where, why, how. And then you need to have a really simple decision-making process. I think this is key, and this is where I want to bring you in, Cole, of like, walk me through those decisions. How do you make a split-second decision of like when to take a risk, when to shoot, when not to shoot, when to pass, all those kind of things? How do you do that under pressure that might help some of these business owners to apply that in their business?
Well, if you want to make the right decision under pressure, that decision should have already been made, weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I think decisions don't just happen. Like, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your systems. Like that's right here. Like, this is it. Like, if you want to make great decisions in game time, you want to make great decisions when it really comes down to it, you have to be prepared for that. You're not just going to pull something out of nowhere that's going to solve all your problems and,
right,
just make everything, sunshine and rainbows. Like, that's not going to happen, right? You have to actually put in all of that work ahead of time so that the decision is just like, you've already done it 50, 60, 70 times. So it's easy. It's just another thing you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's fairly simple to see those coming, right? And to figure out what decisions do we need to make if you've been organized, right? If you've written things down. A lot of what we run into is our clients are like, I got it all in my head, right? And it's like, well, if it's in your head, it's nowhere else. You are too valuable. So we need to write it all down. We need to organize it in the right places. We need to communicate that to the right people. And if we do all of that, then a lot of decisions are handled right there. They don't even need to be had, let alone had in a pressure situation, right? And then the last part here that kind of helps you remove yourself as the bottleneck. If you're organized, if you've written the stuff down, if you trained your people, if you got really clear roles and you've communicated those roles, and your people know how to make really good decisions, is to trust but verify, right? We've heard this saying before, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. But trust but verify, meaning don't micromanage, but you do need to coach and adjust and reinforce, right? So just because you handed something off, it's not a blind handoff, right? You still need to coach and adjust and measure and reinforce, right? So that's the coach's Q&A. These are great questions, playmakers. Make sure you drop one in the comments below. Maybe you'll get featured on the show, but keep them coming. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the film room debrief, where we break down real life leadership plays, analyze what worked, what didn't, and what you can learn so that you can take your team, your business, and your leadership to the next level. Cole, we got a good one today. We got execution. Talking about execution today. So have you ever watched a well-coached team execute a short time drill, right? So you got like 1 minute left. You got a 2-minute drill in football. 2 minute was ours. What is it in soccer? What's the drill in soccer for like short time?
I guess it depends on the coach. We don't really have like a specific one where it's like, yo, this is your 2-minute drill. Now we have put up on the scoreboard, hey, we have 5 minutes left and we're going to simulate the end of the game.
Okay, there you go.
We've done that.
So that would just be your 5-minute drill.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically it's like 2-minute drill. We have the ball. What are we going to do? 5-minute drill. We're simulating the end of the game. It's tied. You give them the scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're up 1-0. You have to protect the lead. You're down 1-0. You got to go chase the game, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So what we found is watching football, soccer, all the above, is that the best teams are not guessing. They've practiced this exact moment, right? There's a playbook for this moment. The players, they're trained for this moment. The execution, it's clear for this moment, right?
Mm.
That's what we're talking about today. So this is a writer downer. So if you're running, you're listening, you're on the treadmill, whatever, come back to us. Execution equals playbooks plus training times productivity. Execution equals playbooks plus training times productivity. Let's break this down. So first of all, execution. Playbooks. What is a playbook? Playbook is something that teaches us how to do a specific thing really, really well. When we go back to the 2-minute drill, or we talk about Cole's 5-minute drill, like there's a playbook, meaning strategies and tactics of how to do something exact. And now we hit to the training. The training is, have we taught them how to do it? Okay, so multiple ways of training here. Another way to look at it, I know you guys call practice training, don't you, Cole?
Yeah.
When it comes, and I love that. I think American football should transition to that. I think it's much. I like the word better.
Yeah.
Like practice. I feel like we're in like a medical office.
Yeah.
Like practicing something. It's like, no, we're training.
Yeah, we're training.
But the training aspect comes down to we're working together with our leader, right, or with a leader that is teaching us how to do something. I love Nick Saban's model on this is that we don't train until we get it right. We train until we can't get it wrong. Okay, so that's the model. So think that's your new mindset when you're training a team member or an employee is you're training them until they can't get it wrong. Now, this is going to take time. This is going to take effort, much more than you want to give, to be honest with you. But when it's done, it is done. Okay, that's the key. And then your business can move much faster and much further, and you'll be able to save a whole lot of your time so that you can help the business to elevate much more in your role, okay? But then we times that by productivity. So what's productivity? Well, two things. One, efficiency, fast, and two, effectiveness, good, right? So after we have the playbook and we've trained on the playbook, now we need to get really, really good and really, really fast at the playbook, okay? Which all of those things are going to equal out to excellent execution, especially when it matters, all right? So let's talk about execution at the sports level, Cole. So execution, it's often in sports a very high pressure scenario, right? Because we're trying to win. We're either going to win or lose the game, maybe even depending on this one play that we can execute or not. What do you think are some of the biggest implications or indicators, rather, of good execution or bad?
I think there's going to be a common theme here. But for us, it is preparation. Yep. Like, we know when moments come if we're going to be able to execute or not based on how we've trained or how our approach, like what our approach is. Now, when you talk about sports or just life in general, things can go wrong, right? There's luck involved in a lot, for sure. But at the end of the day, if we have prepared for a certain scenario over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
then we know that when we meet that scenario in real game time, that we're going to be able to execute that. Now, if we see a scenario in the game that we have never trained before,
right,
execution ain't going to happen. Like,
no,
we're going to struggle. And
yeah.
I think
we're going to go on instinct there.
Yeah, right? Like, I think,
Yeah.
Maybe, a player will pull something out of his hat.
Yeah.
But that is far and few in between. So I think for us, it is, just in general, it is preparation will determine your execution.
So with the preparation, let me see if I can break that down a little bit better with you. The preparation includes the how-to, right, which is the playbook, essentially, and the training of that playbook.
Yes.
And then really it's just repetition and reinforcement.
Yep.
That's where the productivity comes in. Like as we're training, right, or practicing the thing, right, for the just lingo and semantics, people, is really what it comes down to.
For sure.
But the more we can do it in that specific scenario, the better and faster that we'll get at it.
For sure.
Nice. Very cool. I love it. That's a good example. So what's the business application of this? Stop relying on your knowledge alone, right? Document your playbook. Train your team like athletes, just like we're talking here. Repetitions matter, okay? You can do look, I'll do it, you watch, and then we do it together, and then you do it, I watch, and then you do it, and then I check on you, and then we debrief after all of them. And there's a lot of different variations of that, but it takes longer than you think. It's more effort than you think in order to do it right? The best businesses know how to execute under pressure, just like the best players, athletes, and teams, because they prepare when it's calm. And then they also prepare by simulating the pressure so that they can also perform under pressure, right? So they do both things. All right, so we've looked at the winning plays in the film room. Now it's time to learn from the not so great moments. Welcome to the Bonehead Call of the Week. And we're going to go business on this one this week. So we're talking about Disney. We got spring break coming up here. It's not as soon as I want it to be, but I'm there in my state of mind. If you're here in Michigan, it's like 20 degrees and an ice storm. But let's talk about the Bonehead Call of the Week, Mr. Bob Chapek in Disney's streaming disaster. Okay, so Chapek took over as Disney's CEO, and I think I'm saying that right. He took over as the CEO, immediately focused on cutting cost instead of strategy. What did he do? He shifted all the decision-making power away from the content creators and into a corporate structure that slowed everything down, that kind of diminished innovation, hurt morale, and confused the leaders. Listen to this. Within 2 years, they had to bring back Mr. Bob Iger to clean up the mess. So what's the lesson here? If you micromanage and you strip autonomy away, you strip authority away from your key players, you're going to kill momentum. Okay? Leaders need to set the vision, empower the team, delegate correctly, and then adjust when needed. Right? So don't be Mr. Bob Chapek of Disney. Be more like Bob Iger, who got to come in and clean up the mess. And I appreciate you staying with me here because I got a bad voice, but I'm here. I'm delivering you the content, so here we go. So, Cole, give me a breakdown on that. When we say, we're not empowering our team, what's that mean in sports?
You have to be able to let your guys or girls, let your team perform. You have to. Or else.
Don't let your players play.
Yeah, or else why am I not just doing it all myself?
Yeah.
That coaching is about empowering.
Yeah.
And same thing, like business owners, it's about empowering those if you're not by yourself and it's not just you, it's about empowering those around you. And I think If you don't, your team will, one, turn and hate you, just like this situation where, innovation was hurt, morale was killed, and everybody on staff was like, what is going on here, right?
Yeah.
If you don't let those that know the most about that topic feel empowered or are empowered, and you don't give them positions of leadership, it's not going to work. So, like, for example, our leading goal scorer, I'm going to let him do whatever he wants inside the box.
Yeah.
Because clearly he knows what to do. So if I'm telling him a million different ways, this is how you need to operate, this is it, blah, 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 do this, he's going to, feel constrained.
For sure.
And he's not going to perform. He's going to feel like he's walking on thin ice.
Yeah.
And that's the worst case for someone that you want to be a high performer for you.
Right. I tell you, this story just comes to mind. It's crazy. My senior year basketball season, I had already signed my letter of intent for football. So I'm going to Eastern Michigan to play football, right? Division I scholarship, the whole 9 yards, all that good stuff. And, but I had a great basketball season. I was the leading scorer in the area, just having a blast, to be honest with you. We weren't the best team, but we were probably 50-50 on that, but it was my last game at home. And I was in fuego. Like, I was on fire. I had hit, I was at like 25 points. I had already hit 30 like 3 or 4 times that season. And we also were on the verge of winning this game. And it was like one of those like last minute things. We called the timeout. We come over and the coach is like, he's like getting ready to, start the whiteboard thing. Right. And I'm like, Coach, give me the ball. I'm like, just give me the ball. I will score. Give me the ball. And he looks at me and he's like, are you sure? I was like, give me the ball. And he's like, okay. And he switches like everything he was doing. He's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And he gets me. So we get the ball and I actually make my first 3-point shot that I've ever made in my entire career. You can't make this up, man. I was a center. So I always played by the box, right? I made my first 3-point shot that I had ever made in my career. And it was the last one also. But we won the game, the last game at home. It was a pretty cool ordeal. But, like, what would have happened if coach would have said, no, I have this specific play? And, like, you got to let your players play when it's time, right? Mm-hmm. If you have those certain players who are role players and support players, you have those certain players that are your A players and your star players, right? It's when it's time to let them shine, you got to let them shine. Otherwise, what is it that you've been building all along? If you just been building the self-fulfilling prophecy of yourself to not bring others up with you, right? So I think that's the key when it really comes down to it. Mm-hmm. So let's learn from that bonehead call of the week, and let's be the leaders that we need to be, and let's empower our team and make the adjustments when needed. All right, so we've seen what not to do with the bonehead call of the week. Now let's talk about the playbook, right? What is it on the playbook? Well, this week's playbook is on building systems that can scale. So, Cole, let's start off with what are the systems in sports, I guess specifically soccer, and then I can talk more about football, that help us to scale. What systems do we need in place?
Well, this could be a very, very long response here.
Yeah.
So I'll try and shorten it as best I can. And I think this all goes back to that game model that we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
Where each team has a specific way of playing. And so your systems that help you improve are all based on that game model. And it will be
essentially like, here's how we're going to play.
Yeah. So you have a certain outcome, right? Like one of our outcomes is like, we want to attack all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that is a big piece to us. Like we want to go forward. And so if we start just passing the ball around the back and not going forward, that's not a part of our system. That's not what we coach. So clearly like that there's an issue here. But if, it takes one pass to go forward and then the next pass is moving forward and then sideways and then forward and then back maybe once and then forward twice, like we're on the right path because our idea is to attack, go forward. And so depending on what you want your business or team to look like, you have to then work back from that. Okay, what does that look like? What specifically do I need to do in order to achieve this? If I want to attack all the time, what do I need to achieve? Well, I need fast, athletic players. I want people that are willing to go forward. I want players that are dynamic and delete other players from the game. Like all these different things. Like every time we go to recruit someone, one of the big things that we look at is this player deleting players from the game? Is he surpassing them and getting them out of the game? Is he moving the game forward?
I can't help but, I can't help but, I can literally hear my dad saying, you can't win championships with a bunch of donkeys. You need thoroughbreds.
Yeah.
Right? He used to be like, well, you're only going to do so good when half your team is a bunch of donkeys, right? But essentially a bunch of jackasses. You need some thoroughbreds to help you win some games, right? So, and I think that's part of the system, right? I think that when it comes to business, right, I love that. It's like, what's your mantra, right? What's like your culture, right? Is attack. What's your what part of you guys' mission is attack, right? So it's like, what is your mission in the business? And if one of your missions, is we need thoroughbreds because we're going to be doing a lot of things and they're complex and we're going to be going fast, then one of your systems needs to be, recruiting, interviewing, hiring, onboarding, and training thoroughbreds, right? And getting them to that stage. That needs to be one of your systems. Now, another one of your systems, let's get more tactical, Cole, and say, what playbooks do you need in sports to help you to win?
Again, it depends on what you want, but at the end of the day, right, when we talk about soccer, we talk about, okay, what does it take to win? Okay. At brass tacks, you need to score more goals than the other team.
Right.
Okay, where's the goal? It's on the other side of the field. Okay, how can we get to that point in the field? And sometimes,
sounds easy, right?
Yeah, right. And sometimes we have to put our pride away and be like, hey, this team that we're playing against defends really well in these areas of the game. So we have to basically skip them out and go long, which not necessarily we don't love to do because there's less control when you go long. But a lot of the game today is about creating pressure on the opponent. And so the best way to put pressure on the opponent is to try and get the ball behind them so they're running back towards their own goal. So that's a big piece to our system that will help us execute, and that's a big piece to our playbook. Is here's this very specific idea. If this game is about putting the other team under pressure, how do we do that?
Right.
Very simple. Put the ball in behind. Get behind them. Make them run backwards. That's a big piece to that game and that playbook. And that might change from game to game.
So basically you have specific plays, right? Or at least strategies for each scenario and maybe even each type of team that you're going against, essentially.
Yep.
Right. So to relay that to business, it's kind of nice in business because we know exactly what we're going against all the time, especially internally, right? So when we're talking about this, we're talking about our internal playbooks, right? So what we can look at is in our business, where's our offense, our defense, and our special teams at? And what offensive plays do we have? What defensive plays do we have? What special team plays do we have? And then are they written down? Just make sure they're written down. That's why, if you saw my office right now, there's an 8-foot whiteboard in front of me that's got business X's and O's all over it. There's another 4-foot whiteboard over here that has more business X's and O's all over it. We're writing things down. We're documenting them. Best place to do so is in Google Docs or SharePoint or whatever, but make it shareable, make it simple. It can be checklists, it can be guidelines, they're step-by-step processes, all those types of things. But just start with one playbook. And then once you get that playbook, Now what do we do, Cole? Once we know the playbook, we have to do what to our players?
Rep, coach, and rep. Coach, delegate, let them do their thing.
There you go. Now, within that playbook, and I know the answer to it, I'm loading the question. Is there a little bit of style that we can have within each type of playbook?
For sure, because then it goes down to the personnel. If
100%.
a couple of our players that we're recruiting, and let's talk about recruiting. Okay. This changes because we recruit a lot of international players from all over the country.
Okay. Yeah.
All over the world. Sorry, not the country. And so we'll get players from Germany, Portugal, Italy, Brazil, everywhere.
Very cool. Very cool.
And all of these cultures are very, very different.
Yeah.
And when I'm recruiting a German, I'm not talking about, hey, how's your family? I'm going, hey, this is what we want you to do. Can you do this? If I'm talking to a Portuguese kid, hey, how's your family? How's everything going? Like, I'm changing how I operate because Germans, it's like, hey,
to the point,
very down to the details. And then there's other emotions. So when we talk about execution on game day, hey, if I'm taking a corner kick and both of my players are Portuguese, hey, I might let them have a little bit more freedom with flair and what they want to add into the game, give them a little bit more freedom. But if that's a German on the ball, hey, put the ball here.
Yeah.
That's what we need you to do.
Yeah,
Go do
I
it.
love that. That's such a great example and analogy, because it's like, as long as we're hitting the check marks, like we're checking these main boxes, everybody's going to do it a little bit differently. And that's fine. Because in business, especially, I always say, like, we are almost never pouring concrete unless we're a concrete contractor. Right? Sure. Like it's liquid. Maybe the playbook needs to change. Maybe we need to update it. Maybe we have this special person who's taking this playbook to the next level, right? And you won't learn that without empowering your team members. Like, you got to hit these check boxes. Yeah. But there's, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. So it's like, I can tell you to say XYZ 1, 2, 3, but the way I say it's going to be different than how you say it. So that's a good thing, right? That gives us an opportunity to empower our people to grow leaders, right? And also to coach and adjust and reinforce when they do it good and give constructive feedback when they don't do it as well as we want it, right? Okay, so we've documented it. We've wrote down the playbook. We've trained the team and given the repetitions of the playbook. Now what do we have to do? Well, we have to essentially track how good we did, right? We have to measure it. So this is an easy one in sports, Craig, because we measure everything in sports. But talk to me about, the scoreboard is the easiest one, right? Are we winning or are we losing? But talk about like internal KPIs, like numbers that we're looking at in sports to tell if we're running the plays the right way and if we're executing like we should.
For sure. And a lot of this goes back to the film room and like watching film over and over and over again. But we tend to give our players a lot of freedom when they're in the final third, when they're about to go score. Like, we give them a lot of freedom. There's ways that we're like, hey, here are some ideas. We give them freedom. And the big thing for us is maybe we see something that they don't, or vice versa. We will let them do their thing. And if it's not working, we will show them, hey, this isn't working. Trust us. Or
you run the debrief after.
Yeah, you run a debrief. And it's like, hey, what you did isn't working. We tracked it. Here, I'll show you. Try it this way now. Or vice versa. We might tell them, hey, do it this way. And they're like, hey, coach, I see this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, boom, do it your way. Or do it our way for a little bit. If it's not working, then do it your way. So there's a lot of flexibility, but we would never be able to make those decisions if we don't.
Yeah, I think the keys there to what you're saying is that, one, you're measuring and tracking progress, and two, the collaboration of that, I think is really key. Coach, I see this. Hey, I see this. Oh, let's try it this way. That way it didn't work. Let's try. Here's why it didn't work. Now let's try it this way. Like that back and forth with any team member and their leader or leaders side by side, any of that is going to be just super powerful. And like, that's going to be iron sharpen iron. You're going to get better.
Yep.
Like
it's
anytime
not me
that
telling you
collaboration
what
happens,
to do.
right? It's like best idea wins, not my idea wins.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like all ships are going to rise with the tide. Right. The goal is winning. So if we know we want to win, then let's just get the thing. Let's do the thing that we know is going to get us there. Right. Because we're tracking progress, we're tweaking, we're adjusting, we're coaching, we're collaborating on that. Good stuff. All right, let's take a quick timeout for a commercial break.
This episode is brought to you by Mayner Leadership, your go-to solution for turning chaotic operations, misaligned teams, and poor communication into winning strategies. Don't let these common challenges hold back your success. Discover the 4 meetings that you need to grow a service company. Simple, effective, and fast meetings designed to boost productivity and impact without micromanaging or overcomplicating things. Head over to MaynerLeadership.com/4 meetings to download your free guide today and start transforming your team. Or click the link in the show notes below. At Mayner Leadership, we have used this exact communication framework to transform over 1,000 service businesses just like yours. With our tailored leadership consulting, high-impact coaching, interactive workshops, and dynamic keynotes that inspire action and drive real results. Maybe you're ready to elevate your leadership game now. Visit MaynerLeadership.com or click the link in the show notes below to learn more and book your free leadership audit today.
All right, let's give you the scouting report for the week when it comes to small business leaders. These are the current struggles that we are seeing and experiencing right now. So this is the biggest pitfall that you need to avoid right now. And that is thinking that busyness equals progress. The biggest pitfall that you need to avoid right now, the current struggle that most small business leaders need to avoid right now. Write this down, pay attention, listen up. You're probably doing this and you shouldn't be. So here's your scouting report of the week. Is thinking that busyness equals progress. No, it is not. Busyness does not equal progress. Our data is showing, our experiences and observations, and our clients are saying that the small business owners spend 60% of their time on low value tasks that could be automated, delegated, or eliminated, right? 60% of your time is spent doing things that you should not be doing, basically, is what it comes down to. Here's how to fix it. 1, audit your work week, okay? So look at your time. This is like a basic Google sheet. Put it in the notes of your phone. And just go through your day and start to make a list of all of the tasks that you're doing, right? What are the different tasks you're doing and how long are you taking them, right? Make a simple Google sheet of it. Track it for a 5-6 day work week, however long your work week is, and audit that so that you know what it is that you're doing, okay? Then put them in one of four categories. Important, less important, don't like it, hate it, okay? Important, less important, don't like it, hate it. Important means that you love it and you're good at it. Less important means that you love it but you're not so good at it. Don't like it means that you are good at it but you hate doing it. And hate it means you hate doing it and you're also bad at it. Okay? That's as simple as it can get, people. I've practiced this for years now to simplify this so that it works really well for you. And then what you want to look at is those bottom 2, which is the don't like it and the hate it. Like, that's where your magic happens. And what we're finding is that 60% of you are spending most of your time on that bottom half, those low value tasks. You should be spending your time on the important and a little less important areas there. Things that you're good at and you love doing, things that you are really good at but you don't love doing so much, right? And there's lots of examples there. But so first thing is audit your work week. And the second thing is categorize it. And then you need to block some time out for big picture thinking, right? When are you working on your business, which is more of those important type of things, those important and urgent things. You're working on the future as well. You got to have time to work on the business, not just in the business, right? And then those bottom half don't like it and hate it. Those are things that we need to delegate out. So we need to find the right people. We're going to be doing a whole masterclass on delegation, so keep your eye out for that. But that is your scouting report for the week. Stop only working in your business. Make sure you're carving time out to work on your business. Like, give it at least a little bit of a percentage of your time so that all ships can rise with that tide and everybody in your business will benefit from you working on your business, right? And the game ball goes to Coach Prime, Mr. Deion Sanders, head coach, Colorado Buffaloes. Why does it go to him? Well, culture change and leadership buy-in. And literally just now, as we were filming this, we just brought on a brand new coach, running back coach, Hall of Famer, Marshall Faulk, just came on as Coach Prime's running backs coach. So he now has Marshall Faulk and he has Warren Sapp, both Hall of Famers as coaches for Coach Prime. He's taken them from 1-11 to now very close to making the playoffs this year, right? Had two of the most talented players in the league. Both will be, they're saying top 5 picks in the draft. It really comes down to accountability, confidence, belief that they can actually do it, and then execution, which is getting them the results that they're getting. Right, so what's the lesson for you, the business owner? One, and you're going to love this one, Cole, set the standard. Set the standard. I mean, Coach Prime, he said it a long time ago, and he's just now continuing to hold it. Right? He doesn't tolerate certain things that is different. Like, the way he does it is different. Like, I think they got first time ever a 3.0 GPA for Colorado Buffalo football, which was like, that's huge, man. Make hard decisions. I mean, there was a lot of times when I know Travis Hunter wanted to play, and Deion was actually like, no, you're going to sit because we need you healthy in the long run. Right? And then lead with energy and vision. I mean, that's what this dude is. Like, that is the definition of Coach Prime, is with energy and vision. Right? So set the standard, make hard decisions, lead with energy and vision. Let's wrap up with an action plan for you. So for today, what I want you to do is just identify one process in your business that needs a playbook. Start writing it down, right? Start creating that first playbook if you haven't already. Number 2, delegate one task this week. Pick one of those low-value tasks that you're doing and delegate that out to the right person this week. Train them how to do it, work together on it, and then hold them accountable afterwards. And then 3, give yourself 1 hour in the next week to focus on CEO level thinking. Work on the business. Step out of the weeds, onto the balcony, look at your business, work on your business, right? Playmakers, hard work is a given. Smart work is what is going to help you scale. Championship leaders, championship teams, they don't just play hard, they play smart. Now go and lead like a champion today.
Great huddle, playmakers. This strategy session was packed with powerful plays and game-winning insights designed to elevate your leadership, drive your team to victory, and make your business better than ever. As a coach, both on and off the field for over 20 years, I live for those game-changing moments. And I'm sure that you just scored a few during this episode. Now, it's your turn to make a move. Share your winning plays and your key takeaways by leaving a review wherever it is that you tune in, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And don't keep this game plan to yourself. Share this episode with a fellow leader who's in the trenches and who's ready to level up their leadership game. Your feedback fuels my drive and keeps me in the game, crafting these strategies and sharing insights just for you. And if you're ready to take your leadership and operations to the next level, then book a free leadership audit to learn more by visiting us at www.maynerleadership.com. Keep leading strong, stay in the fight, and make today a powerful one. Until next time, keep pushing for victory.